the first thing I want to tell you is like about animation. Where do we get animations from actually? So, or like motion files, because so far you know that our avatars are quite steady. So we can change the poses, as you know. But if we actually want the avatar to move, we have to do it a little bit different. So this is depending on if it's female kids or male avatars, located in the respective folders. In this case, we have to go to the female folder, and there inside there's a folder, it's called motion. And if we open this folder up, there we have a selection of our default CLO default motion files that you can use on your avatar. In case you don't have everything that I have here, so I just have the default version of CLO, not any like specific extras that I downloaded or something. If you're not seeing this or not seeing all the avatars, it might be that here behind you have small white icons with an N, and that means there's something new. So if you have this, you can also here press the download button and download these assets. But I think they should all be there. I think you have them already. Okay, I will just continue. So no hands pose. If I double click on this, first I'm prompted with this box here, and it says, do you want to move the avatar and come into the start position? Yes, okay. Do you want to have a transitioning file? Yes or no? And I will explain you what that is in a second, and how long the transitioning file should be. In this case, standard is 30 frames. And I can say, okay. So now I can see if I zoom out that my avatar has switched to the start position of this motion file. And then if I wanted to continue to work with this, I would need to, like the garment that I have, I need to put here on my avatar, fit it here in this position. And then I can come over to this drop-down menu from simulation to animation, so the animation tab. And then if I go to animation, and I zoom in here a little bit more, you should be prompted with something like this. So it's just different, a little bit different window, but it almost has the same features. So I can open and close my library. I have simulation buttons here, but it's all a little bit reduced. What is new is down here is the whole animation window that you see here. So, and what happened is, I will explain everything, but what we see here are these lines, and these lines go like in this direction. So this is our timeline. Our timeline starts here at 0. And you can see here in the first line, it says transition. This is where our transitioning file is automatically created. And as it said before, maybe zoom in a little bit more, it's not possible, okay. This transitioning file is exactly 30 frames long. And underneath, I have the line here that has this motion file asset here. And now I can see I have this little scroll button here. If I grab this blue arrow and I go through from frame 0, this is the start, to frame 30, this is the transitioning file. So it's transitioning from the original pose that we had before to the start position kind of pose file of the animation, of the motion file. So this is what it's doing. And you can say you want to have this transitioning part with the motion file or not. This was the window before. So, and then as I scroll through even more, you can see that the avatar then is going through the whole motion file, walks to the front, poses a little bit, and then walks back to the right side. So this is basically the motion file. And the other motion files are almost the same. For example, this one also walks to the front, but here does a little turn. So it's made for like if you have a dress, for example. But the last two motion files that we have here, walk in place and idle, are a little bit more special. Walk in place you can also do. So this would be here, and then she would just walk in place. And the idle one I can also show you. Works like this. And then she's just maybe, yeah, it's just subtle movement. It's just for, yeah, if you want to render a video, subtle movement here. It's almost not visible, but it's a little bit. So these are the options that you have. So most of them are just walks from left to the front and then back to the right. And these two. So you have these motion files, but maybe you think like, okay, I have this now, but like maybe I want to have something else. Where can I get like custom animations from? If you want to say it like this, then we, for example, have the option to go to a site called Mixamo. You probably heard about it before. It's a site from a page from, I'm not logged in. Quickly log in to show you what's going on this page. And I want to log in with Google. Yes. Just a second. And there we go. This is how it looks like. So it's free. You just need to have an Adobe account. And it has a lot of different, like thousands of different small animations. And you can like search through something here, like walk, for example. You get like different types of walks. It's mainly more for like the gaming industry or something. It's not like super high quality, but at least you can use this and it's free. So most of the people like to use this as a start. If you want to get into complex animation, there's a whole rabbit hole behind it that you can also do, but so far not in CLO, I have to admit. But yeah, we have the option here to, if you select something here, some animation that you like, you can just basically come up here and say download, and it will download an FBX. So an FBX file from this animation with the rig inside. And that's the most important thing. So this is the rig that is inside of this character here. And this is what we can then apply to the CLO avatar as well. So when we downloaded the FBX here, we could go to avatar, and then we can go to register, no, sorry, convert to motion. Yeah, auto convert to motion, and then it will say something. Then we have to specify which character we want to use. So this is dependent also on like how the hips are moving or how the shoulders, how wide the shoulders are and so on. But you can basically download this here from like specifically from the Mixamo site. So in this case, then maybe we have to go to female. Then we have to select the motion file, the FBX that we downloaded from Mixamo, put this here, and then this would get automatically converted, and then we can use it like these motion files here on our CLO avatars. This is important because you cannot use anything you find online, let's say, on our avatars. And the reason is that, or most of the programs, they have a specialized rig. So in Unreal, for example, Unreal Engine, there's a different rig inside the meta-humans, for example, than in the CLO avatars. And the CLO avatar is different than DAZ Studio different to iClone, and so on. So it's very important that in this case, the rig inside of the avatars from CLO are the same as in the motion file or in the animation file that you have. Newly added now in, hopefully you're working with it, 2024.2, our big release. You are also now able to bring in other FBX files that have not been created in Mixamo. Before, you only had the option to have these files from Mixamo and apply them here. Other workflows were also possible, but very difficult only for like super advanced users. Now you also have the option to apply any FBX. So the only thing that you need to be aware of is that the rig is the same. So like the naming of the joints and so on. But I just wanted to explain you this beforehand, so you know like where can I get these files from. Different options, and also dependent on the use case that you have. So let's stick with our normal files for the moment. Yeah, let's go into our skill up folder here. And here we can start with our first file. And that is here called our wind animation start. So it always has a start file and a final file. So you can see like what the final stage is if you wanted to like go back through the exercise again. But we will start here with the start files, and then I will explain you what we're doing. Good. So double click on wind animation start. Has been changed to animation stable for high quality animation. Network has been hidden. Okay, good. Something that is also important before we start is that in our 2024.2 release, there was something added that is very useful to you, especially when you are a Windows user, because now in the simulation, if you long press, you had the possibility before, let's switch back to simulation here, see it a little bit better, to switch to GPU simulation. But the problem was that the GPU simulation, because of how it's built, like the algorithms, or like it's super technical, but what it's based on, it's fundamentally different to a CPU simulation. So the collision and so on was different to the CPU one, less accurate. Now in the new release, you have the option to select from these three simulation modes that we have, so normal, fitting, and animation. You can also switch between CPU and GPU. And now the collision detection, or like the behavior of the fabrics, is the same or almost the same, like, I don't know, 98% the same as the CPU simulation. So this is really good. Why is it? Because you can speed up your simulation by about 10, 15 times. The problem is if you are a Mac user, again, as with the rendering as well, you don't have a, most of the time, a dedicated graphics card. Everything is combined into your M1, M2, M3, M4 processors probably, so only internal graphics. That's why here you don't have the option to select GPU and then rendering as well. So you're bound to CPU. For all the Windows users, I would suggest that you switch to GPU in your simulation now as often as possible, because it will just speed up things drastically. And yeah, this is really good. So we also want to do this because the graphics card is much more powerful, and this will also help us here with the animation. Okay. I just switched on these, this little check here to switch from CPU to GPU. That's it. You can see that before the arrow here was filled in, and now it's just like the outlines here. So you know this is the GPU mode. Okay, So we have a beautiful dress here that Victor designed, and this now we want to animate. So as we learned, we want to open our library, and then we go to avatar, and then to female, because we're using a female avatar. And then we can go to motion, and in this case, we want to load the animation called walk in place, or the motion file walk in place. We can create a transitioning file again, yes, and we can make it 30 frames. Okay, good. Motion file is loaded. This is set to thin fabrics, I just saw. And then we can go over to our animation tab. Okay. So here we are, same as before. We have a transitioning file that changes the avatar into the first frame of our motion file. And yeah, but the problem is that so far only the avatar is moving and the garment not. And this is now what we can start to fix. Here on the side, this is the first thing that we want to take care of. This is the animation or the garment animation record button. So what we need to do is now we have the motion file applied to the rig of the avatar, but it's not applied to the garment. It would also be very complicated because it has no rig. So we need to play through this animation with the avatar walking, and then start the collision or like the simulation. You don't need to move the blue arrow, but you just have to like long click it. Like if you click with your left button long here, then you should be able to select. Exactly. So we can just simply close my library. Can just simply click here, and then we have to wait a little bit. And then first it will go through the transitioning file, and then it starts to go through the actual walk cycle. And then when it's done, it will stop. That's it. That was the recording. It was quite fast, I have to say, because we switched to GPU. With CPU, we would have waited a little bit longer, even though the motion file, the animation is not very long. But it just takes a while. It's like, needs to simulate all the time. So now that we have recorded this, you can see that we have a new line here, and that is called garment. So this contains everything that our garment is doing. It was tagged already. I'm not sure what you mean. No, the garment is not tagged. Okay. So now we want to have a look maybe at what we have recorded. I could do this with my little arrow here and scroll through my my animation. Or what I can also do is I can use these buttons here. So as you know from like other household items like TV remote and so on, you have a back to frame 0 button here. You have one keyframe back and forth buttons. You have a play button and like scroll to the end button. We have a loop button and we have a playback speed button. So we can simply also click here on the play button, and then we can see that our avatar and garment are moving together. If you're playing there also, then there's a pause button, so you can also pause in between. But this is quite logical. So if I put on this loop button or repeat button, then you can see that we have a range here. So this range, this play region is highlighted here in blue. So this comes, it's interesting for us when we have this loop button activated. So if you play now, and in the end of this play region, then it starts from the beginning again. It's not simulating anymore. No, it's done. We just recorded. So when we press record, the simulation starts, and when it went through the play region or through the motion file, then it stops automatically. And yes, of course, you can also save this animation. So this is what we need to do when we work with animations. So first thing is applying the motion file in this case, or apply the animation to the avatar, and then record the movement of the garment like you're used to it in CLO on top of it. From here, we can then either export it. Let's say we want to use it, I don't know, in a different program, or we want to upload it somewhere on our closet, or we want to use it in Unreal Engine, in Blender, in you name it. Then we would need to come here to File, Export, and then say either FBX or GLTF or USD or Alembic, depending on what you want. And then, yeah, I just need to blah, 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 save. And then, yeah, you can export this here with joint animation and cache animation. And then you would have the animation of the avatar and the garment inside of one FBX file, for example. Yes, you don't. Yeah, if you want to delete something here, for example, we recorded this here, but maybe we are not satisfied because, I don't know, when she's walking, she steps on the fabric or something. We can also get rid of parts here, or we want to get rid of anything here. We can just click on it, a right click, and then we can say delete. For example, I want to get rid of this transitioning file because we don't want the transitioning part, but just like a whole walk cycle that is looping. We can just right click here, delete, and you can see the line is now gone. Then let's say I want to get rid of this garment animation recording as well. So I want to delete this as well. And then I want to maybe record this again. And now it will go through. There is so far, I think, no possibility to add more than one motion file. And avatar. I think a motion file is only applying to one avatar at a time. And I think you cannot add multiple. But yeah, if you think this is something that you really need, please leave it in the chat, or if Konstantin is sending out poll questions, then maybe you can also add it somewhere there. Yeah. Okay. So everything we do at CLO is dependent on what our customers, our users, and clients want to have. So please reach out to us if you think this is something that you really want to use and is really important in your workflows with clients or whatever. And then we can see what we can do for you. Okay. So yeah, I just recorded this. Now I can play it back, and then it will start here in the beginning again. But you can see already that we have a little problem, but this is something I cannot help you with. This is then a little bit of your professionality and editing skills later, because you see in the last frame here, the skirt and or dress is in this position. Now, if I say loop it, then it starts at frame 0 where the dress is here. So you need to find, if you want to make this seamless, you need to find a perfect balance between the last keyframe here that we recorded and the first one. But this is now a little bit too complicated, so maybe you can find it out by yourself. Okay. What else can we do here? We have an option here that says frame stepping, and we can switch this to real time if you want. So frame stepping shows you, if you play this back here, this animation, it shows you it a little bit different. So it just goes through the frames individually instead of this real time setting where it will maybe skip some frames to play this back in real time. So if you want to see how it actually looks like when you render this out or save this out, this is how it would look like. So this is the difference. Yeah, then you have the option to jump to specific frames, for example. So you can say, I don't know, start with, oops, nope, not type it in, 30, and then it jumps to frame 30, for example. You can also define the play and the play region. So here you can see like now the blue bar here on top goes from left to right completely, but I can also say like only put this to something like from 80 to 140. Yeah. And now if I play this here, then it will now only loop this play region part. And this region part is also important for us later when I explain you how to do rendering, because there we can also define, do we want the whole region here, everything that is recorded here to be rendered, or do we want to only render out a specific part of it, the play region, and this we have to define here. So a start frame, an end frame, and here with this current frame, we can type something in, or we can check like if I scroll here, now I'm here at frame 76. If I go here, it's 163 and so on. Last thing I can, or the last two things is here, the scene time warp. With this, you have to be a little bit careful. It's a little bit like speeding up or slowing down the animation. So if what is recorded here is a little bit too fast for you, you want to have it more in a slow motion type of thing, then you have to put this to 2, for example, 2. So it will then make the whole animation like double the length. So, and other way around, you can also do it if you reduce it. So its default is 1. If you put this down to 0.5, for example, then it will speed up things by double the amount. So these are the options that you have here. The last thing that you have is the display unit. For the moment here, everything is shown in frames. And you can switch this to seconds. So you know, for example, if I zoom in here, this animation here is now a little bit longer than 3 seconds. But yeah, that's basically it. Here you have the option, you can like move around between your start and end frames. You can also define the region. For example, it should start at like -50, and then here on the other side, you want to have your range to 500. So, and then it's a little bit easier here, and then it's basically the same as if you've worked with video editing before in Premiere or DaVinci Resolve. I guess it's also the same, Movie Maker. Yeah, this is what you can do here. So yeah, this is basically it. And the simplest way to apply a motion file and record it. And that's about it. Good. Now I want to go back to this first frame here. And I want to delete the animation that I have from the garment while walking. Because now I want to add something. This is kind of now skill up exercise number 2, because we can add something interesting, and that is if we come here to our environment display and then go to wind controller And then we can check it. And then we have our little symbol here. This is our wind controller. First of all, I want to move this a little bit to the front. So I cannot really zoom in because it's almost always the same size. This is the wind controller. And you can see it has a blue arrow. So this one here. And this blue arrow is showing you the direction in which the wind would then come from. So I want to direct the wind from the front directly, move it around with my gizmo. And then I can go through with you the options that we have here in the property editor of the wind controller. I can also switch here, first of all, to the normal simulation. From the animation stable, I'll switch to normal, but I will keep it GPU. So I can start my simulation. So far, nothing's going on. I can move around my skirt, nothing special. So options here. First one is obviously to activate this. So activate wind blows. Super cool, right? But it is super strong at the moment. I think normally it's like this. And I can now show you the different options. So let me turn this off for a second. Okay, so unlimited bound. What does that mean? Unlimited bound is when this is turned on, the wind is not stopping like anywhere. This sounds a bit weird, but when I turn this off, you will see what I mean. When I turn this off, you can see it's a bit hard to see because of the background. But basically here is it creates like something like a square. Maybe if you're testing this out right now, you can see, so here's a little planar thingy. And this you can size up also when you click on this little icon here. And this, let me make this big, is if you want to control the wind in a specific area. So this is the area that I have now created. And now if I start my wind again and my simulation, you can see, can you see it? Can you not? Yeah, there it was. You can see that it creates kind of a boundary in which part the wind is like able to blow, let's say. So here on the end, you can see that it falls off. The hair cannot move, no. Sadly, no. Hopefully in the future, at the moment, not. But you could, for example, say you want to have like you are making some earrings here, and these are made from fabric, let's say, and the wind should only blow on the earrings while she's walking normally, and then you record the animation, you know? So you can control where the wind is, in which part the wind is blowing. So I can also make this here a little bit smaller, and then I can move this up. So this is how you control it. You have different types here. So this was the planar thing that you can change in size, but you can also do spherical, which works the same, but in a sphere. So you can hopefully you can see it on your screen, but it's like super light gray. Maybe I can do this. Ah, now you can see it. So yeah, if you do this, you can size up and down this sphere, and planar looks like this. Makes sense. Okay, but I think most of the time you are not using this, so we can leave unlimited bound on. Change back my background. Okay. Good. Underneath we have the strength. The strength is, of course, telling us how strong the wind is blowing. So standard default is, I think, here 1000. We can turn this down to 500 to wait a little bit so the fabric comes down, or 200 so the wind becomes weaker and weaker and weaker. Makes sense. What else can we do? This decay from 0 to 100% says if it's set to 0, the wind is blowing the same power on this skirt if the wind controller is here or further away here. The strength of the wind is always the same. If we don't want this, because we want to have this more, like you can imagine it like a light. Talking about lights, the lights on my face are a bit funny here. When you have like a flash lamp or something, and you like, or just a big lamp, you want to, if you hold it in your face, the point is like super tiny and it's super bright. The further you go away, the bigger the circle of the light gets, and it gets more diffuse and less bright in your face. So this is almost here the same. So we can say we turn this to 50%. So that means if I go further away, the wind will, or the power of wind, the wind strength will decrease by 50%. So this is something we could do. So the further I go like near to the avatar, the stronger it would be. The further away I go, the less power it would have. This is the decay function. Then we have an option here that is called frequency, and the frequency says how strong you want to, so if it's set to 0, the strength of the wind is always like, or like the flow of wind is always the same 100%. If we change this to, in this case, it's seconds. If we change this to 5, so my numpad was not working. Okay, then it gives me in an interval of 5 seconds variations of the strength of the wind. So as you can see, it's blowing a little bit more, a little bit less. So it will have like in a 5-second amount of time, it will go a little bit up and down, a bit random, which makes it a little bit more realistic. And the last thing is turbulence. Turbulence is, if you crank this up to 100, you would think that this person is inside of an, or like in a hurricane. So strength 100, so you can see it's blowing like crazy. And yeah, so if I put the frequency to 0, you can see, wow, it's going crazy. Let's put this a little bit less, because the wind is so strong, it's almost pulling her close to the way here. It's too strong. Yeah, but I guess you understand what I mean with turbulence. So these, like that, it's fluttering like crazy. This is what the turbulence is doing. Yeah, but that's about it. I will turn this down, turbulence to 0. Yeah, Konstantin just sent the first poll. I think you answered the questions here. Super nice. Yeah, what I just want to do, maybe I put the strength down, 200 maybe, and then unlimited bound on, yeah, and then while the wind controller is running, I want to simulate my, record my garment. So to the first part of my animation, I will stop the simulation for the moment. Actually, I have to set this back to animation stable. This makes it more precise later. And then I can hit record. And then with the wind applied, she's walking. Yeah. Okay. And then we can see how it looks like. Did I make some changes? Yes, I did. Scene time warp. Just set this back. Okay. And play. So this is what I have recorded. as you can see, I think I have to do it again actually, because of the scene time warp. The scene time warp is also adding fake frames in between, which could make this a little bit complicated. So I will do it again in slower motion here. So the animation here is more stable. Looks way better. Okay, playback. Nice. Okay, so that worked quite well, I think. Hopefully you understand everything. In case you have a question, feel free to ask about the Win controller. Otherwise, we can go into the next exercise. Actually, I only have 10 minutes time, but I will, or maybe we just exaggerate it a little bit longer. Okay, then we can go into the next exercise, and that is, I can quickly show you how to work with camera animation. This is then our second to last little exercise for today. So camera animation, start. I will not save this. You can save it if you want. I will not. Okay. Okay, good. So this is our scene. So we have a nice outfit, and as you can see, we have a super long motion file that Victor prepared here. And this goes basically on and on and on and on and on. Just he's walking, 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 walking. Okay, so we want to, or I want to show you now what we can do with our camera animation, because you might have seen that I missed something here on purpose, because I want to explain this to you now. So with these features that were implemented, I think in 7.3 or 2024, I'm not sure. But this gives you the options to, because before, if you rendered something, you only had like one camera and the camera was steady, right? So in this case, what we want to do is, first of all, I can explain you what these three buttons mean. So the first one is to hide or exchange, not hide, to add or exchange a keyframe for the camera. The second one is our camera view. And the third one is to show the camera path. So let's, what is this? I just pressed the number 4 on my keyboard to have this side view. So, and let's say this is the first view that I want to have. So I will click here to add, replace camera keyframe to add my first camera frame. As you can see, we have a new line here in our timeline that is called camera, and there it has a new little icon there. This is the keyframe for this camera. So far so good. Now we want to click here the second button, and this opens up our camera preview, and this basically gives us a preview of what will happen later in the render. So what also happened is that I can now, if I zoom out a little bit, you can see my camera here. This is my camera that is filming my view here. So if I put this a little bit further here, you can see in my camera preview that I can see what's going on. So this makes it super easy. Actually, I have to get rid of my Win controller here. Just delete it. Can I do it again? Yeah. So now it's gone. So I can move my camera around. I can not tilt it with the circles as you are used to it, but yeah, I can move it like up and down. I can move it in specific direction. If you want to tilt the camera, you probably see that there's a green line here, and the green line ends in a blue point here. And this blue point can move around. And you can see, sorry, yeah, if I move around, then the camera is also following this direction. So this point is basically to like zoom or like put the focus on a specific point, in our case now from the side. So I want to start with this keyframe here in this position. My point needs to be a little bit further down. Maybe like this. Okay, so next thing we want to do is we want to set our second keyframe. So for this, I have to scroll here to, I don't know, let's say frame 60. And I will press here my add keyframe for the camera again. Now, in this area that I defined by the keyframes, the camera will stay in this position. From here, frame 60, I now want to move, I don't know, 20 frames further into the future, kind of, to frame 80. And now I want to change my camera. But I have to put this here first. It's very important. Move my camera to a different direction. And I need to zoom in probably a little bit more. And I can also zoom up a little bit, maybe a little bit further back, a little bit further down. So she's in place, exactly. And now if I scroll through my timeline here, you can see that I have now a transition between first frame that we have, keyframe, second keyframe, and between the second keyframe and the third keyframe, you can see it also here by the blue line that popped up. It's now automatically transitioning the camera position. So we can again go, I don't know, up to 140 frames and then click the keyframe again. And then we can see in the preview also what we have created. We play, now transition, and then it goes through the frames that we've set here. And so on. So now what we can also do is, this is our area, then we want to go to frame 160 maybe. And then we can also put the camera somewhere completely different. Maybe like this. And like this. And like I can also put the focus somewhere else. Just like, it's too far. Too far away. There it is. And now what I want to show you is that we can not only change the position of the camera, but as you can see here in the property editor of the camera, if you click on it, you can also scroll down until you see camera intrinsics. If you open this up, you have the option here to also change the field of view. And this now is super cool because we can do this, for example, put it super high. You need to zoom in again. But now it's also transitioning from the other field of view here that we had, 15. You can see it also if you have a look here. It's a bit hard to see for you, but so it's also, as you can see, changing to this view and so on. And then we can keep this for some frames maybe, and so on. So these are the techniques that you can go through to like create a camera path. So you can see if I play this back that the camera is actually here moving automatically between these states and doing these changes for us. And this we can then render out in our rendering. But as you can see, the motion file here is super long. So before we go into the last short exercise, and that's talking about how to render this all together, is that we have to define the frames that we had set up here. So my camera frames, let's say like I want to end this here at frame 210. So I have to say here where it says end frame 210. So the blue bar has changed to this position. And if I wanted to, I can then say save this just to be sure that nothing is happening or something. This I can close. And from here, then, if you wanted to render this out, you have to go to render. Start, let me go back to simulation just so I can see this a little bit better. So to render out the animation, we have to first go into our image and video properties located here. And by default, this is set to a single image. So here we have to change to animation. If we have done something animation with motion files or anything else with the Win controller and we recorded the garment animation, then we have to change this here to animation. Then this changes a little bit. And now here's the part what we just defined, the region. Here it asks us the entire region. No, it was super long. So you will say we want to use the area that we just defined. In my case, it was from frame 0 to 210. And yeah, that is basically it. It's only now dependent on what you want to have in the background. So here you can click video. So then it will save the video as a if you scroll down, you can change the video format to AVI or MP4. If you want to save this as a video, you are not able to get transparency. This is because you can only have this with PNG images, I believe. Maybe there's something else, but I'm not sure right now. If you want to have a video kind of with transparency, you have to uncheck save video. Then it would go through the animation frame by frame, and it will every time save a single image. Then you would need to go into the video editing software and then put all the frames together. There's also walkthroughs in Premiere, how you can like apply like a, not sure, like a image batch or something like this, like batch import of images, and then you can use this with something else. But I think so far there's no option to save a video with transparency, just like this. So the same as here. So if you turn off save video, then you can activate the transparency again. If you check here save video, so it collects all the images and then saves the video in the end for you, you are not able to get the transparency. Yeah. Surprisingly, I still did it. I thought 10 minutes left would be not enough, but it's only 4 minutes delay. I'm sorry. maybe we can go through some questions here. Hopefully you don't have any connection issues here like Shadi. Yes, the recording will be shared, so don't worry. Yeah, I'm not going through like how to start the render here. I think you know how this works. If I record a garment in 360 motion and close 3D with scene and background, the camera moves 360 with the scene. It records the avatar moving with scene. So how to record this 360 motion with scene stable and close? I think Konstantin and I have talked about it yesterday. So far it's not possible, but we have it on our feature board and I cannot say anything, but maybe it will also come in the future. Let's say this. There might be ideas already. So far, it's not possible, sorry. But then I think if you wanted to do this, I would probably render this as 360 images and then put this together in a video editing software and just change the background, for example. This you could do. Or you can put an HDRI in the background or a background image or a pattern piece with a print on top of your background or something like this. Multiple options. You're welcome. Lorena from London. Can I find how to solve collision in animation? Mess up time with my garments. Yeah, it can be a little bit difficult. Closed simulation just got a little bit better with the, or faster, I have to say, not better, with the GPU simulation. With collision problems in animation, this can be very specific. Can be from the particle distance, that your particle distance was maybe too high, or the fabrics are too elastic. This could be something, but this is very individual. It's a bit too hard to answer here. The video from the session you will get after this recording, or the recording from the session you will get after. I think it's sent out immediately. It's recording like on the background. Animate many different styles on a runway. Simple options, by simple options, you mean batch rendering? I'm not sure what you mean by this. Yes, Harini, you should include animation. That's my personal view. I think like all this is becoming more and more the future. But so far, I think if we have started with 3D and we have everything like hard objects, like let's say that's the first point, and then we want to step into animation, real-time cloth could be the future, fitting, yeah, for our clients and for social media and virtual experiences. Yeah. Okay. Hopefully I've answered not all the questions I know, but I'm thinking of a series, maybe a live stream or something that we can do in the future for all the questions that you have that might be useful. I'm not sure if it will come, if I can do it, but I will work on it. And hopefully I see you in the next session. Thank you, Konstantin, for his great support here with the questions. And yes, thank you for listening. And I see you in the next one. Bye-bye from CLO Munich. Until next time.